Today on Air with Rare, we got I don't even know how to put this, man. This is a special guest. Been coaching in the Catholic League for over a decade. Father Judge, head coach, Chris Roundtree. What's going on, Chris?
What's up, Brad?
Oh man. Thanks for being on Air with Rare, man. Now, coach,
Thanks for having me.
question. When did you get into coaching?
So I started probably right when I got out of college. I was doing some like rec ball stuff, and that had then turned into me doing some AAU with a program called the Northeast Sting. And I had guys like Mark Rodriguez and Colin Gillespie and them guys in like fifth or sixth grade. And that's kind of really when I started, I'll say higher level coaching. And we got into some good tournaments and we kind of grew and became a part of team final once we entered high school. And from that relationship, is where I met John Moscow. He was trying to get one of my players to Newman. And then John had actually taken the Wood job a year later and had asked me to come on board and help him out. And that's really kind of where I started.
Okay, speaking of John, you joined John Moscow over at Archbishop Wood in 2013, and you were there for 8 seasons. You were a huge contributor to the success you guys were able to cash in on. You guys won a 2017 PCL championship and a 2021 championship. What was your time like there? What was that feeling like actually like capturing the PCL championship?
It was great. I think, just building relationships with John and kind of showing me the ropes of the league from a coaching standpoint has been great. And John has for me, he's grown into a friend. He was in my wedding. I talked to him probably once, twice, three times, sometimes every day. But it was a great experience. I mean, I've built a lot of great relationships, met and helped develop a lot of great players, and it was exciting. I think winning in 2017 was special. It was, for them, it was their first championship, I think. And we had a great group of guys. And then, 21 again, which was my last year at Wood, coming up with Rasul and them guys who I also coached in AAU. It was just a really good feeling.
Yeah, 17, was that against Newman? That was against Goretti, right?
17 was against Grady.
Right.
Yep.
Speaking of those guys, you coached several all-time greats that came through those doors. Colin Gillespie that went to Villanova, Sue Diggins, UConn, Deshaun Shepard, LaSalle. What was it like coaching those guys?
They were all great. They all had different personalities. They have different things. But I think, one of the cool things about all this, and people ask why you do it, it's the relationships that you build with your players and how you continue on to try and help them. And, Colin, I've been close with Colin. I had him since fifth grade. Still close to this day with him. I golf with him consistently. But, even Sewell or Deshaun, a text, you get a random text from them here or there, and how you doing? When I had my baby, they were all texting me, congratulations. When we got to the Palestra last year, even though we beat Wood, they were congratulating me. So it's the relationships that you build, but they all had different things. They all did different things really, really well. And it's been fun to kind of keep those relationships going.
Now, we mentioned 2021, you guys captured a PCL championship. And then shortly after, you get hired as the head basketball coach of Father Judge. What was that feeling like?
It was special for me because it's my alma mater. So, it was probably the one place that I would have ever left John for. I think, with our relationship and the things that he allowed me to do at Wood and the success that we had at Wood, it was the one place that that I probably would have left, but one that I had to make sure it was right for me and, how we could compete, because you don't want to go from winning championships to not being able to compete. And, we got the job late in June, but it was a special feeling to go back to your alma mater. A lot of guys that play in there, winning a championship there, and now coaching there, it's been pretty special for me.
You inherited a team that went 2-10 in PCL play, and in just your third season, you turned that program around into a 10-4 team in the PCL, and took that team to the Final Four in one of the toughest leagues in America. How'd you do it?
It all starts about players. I mean, we got a group of great guys, and even the guys that when I got there, we struggled in our first year, but we competed in our first year, and we didn't get it done. We had a chance to we had a chance to get to the playoffs in our first year, and we lost our last game at Bonner, and Bonner got in instead of us. But it was just kind of always thinking, what's the next steps, and how do you get there? How do you compete? And how do you develop a culture? And I think, Kavere has been a springboard for us. He came in that year as a freshman and competed, and worked his way into the lineup, and he's been great. But we've had some pretty good players now over the past couple of years. Kavere and Mir, Nas Tyler was great for us last year. Anthony Lilly, who's playing at Elizabethtown, but it's getting guys. Laquan now at Lock Haven. My first 2 years, I think we had Jalen Flowers went to North Carolina, and then Ernest Shelton went to Gannon, and is being extremely successful. But we only had 2 guys go to college coming out, so it was tough. And our league's super talented, but we haven't gotten the superstars. But I think we've developed guys into high-level players. And now, you look at it with Kavere going to Merrimack and Everett coming in and developing, and he's going to Loyola. Yep. We have 2 Division I players, and we haven't had a Division I player since '98 at Judge, which is one of my assistants, Jimmy Reeves. So, I think it's all about players, and they make the coaches.
Now, Coach, you guys had a monster win last season against PCL powerhouse Roman Catholic. What was going through your mind after that game or later that night? Like when was the last time Judge knocked off Roman Catholic, if ever?
They did beat them in the early maybe 2000s, and then it's kind of the same situation. They lost to them in the playoffs, but it was a good feeling. It was kind of an arrival of that we were there, that we kind of were on the right track, right? And I know that game Sharif got hurt going into the fourth quarter, and it was a tight game going into the fourth quarter, so it definitely impacted the game. But I think we played really well. I think it was kind of a stepping stone for us in terms of, hey, we've arrived and we can compete with the top teams in our league. And some people said we arrived a year early, but our goals has always been to get to the Plester and try and win a championship. So, I think internally we felt we had a chance last year to be pretty good, and I think that kind of cemented it, especially coming off of, we played well in the preseason. We went down to Florida and won a tournament, but then you come right back and Wood just beat us, on our gym floor, and that was kind of the next chance for us to get it to a really good team, and just kind of show that we can compete with the top level teams in our league.
Yeah, speaking of last year, a lot of people had you guys as 1 year away from being the team to beat, but you guys arrived early. Now going into the season, many guys have you as one of the early on favorites to go all the way. How do you deal with that added pressure, or if it's any pressure at all? Because, it's a difference between playing as the hunter versus being the hunted.
Yeah, and that we've talked about that all off season. I think we've talked about, how we continue to take the next step. But like I said before, our expectations last year were that we were good enough to win. And, so we played with our own internal expectations, and now we have to handle external expectations. But like you said, you're going to get everybody's best shot. Everybody's probably sick of hearing about us. Everybody, you guys have moved us up to number 1 last year at one point, and, preseason expectations and all of that. So you're going to get everybody's best shot. I feel like our league just keeps getting deeper every year. So there's no nights off. And, we tell our guys we're good enough to win a championship, but we're also good enough to step on the floor and lose to anybody every night. But it's about, I think, for us, challenging ourselves in the preseason. So, we're not going to be perfect in the preseason, and how we can overcome adversity. And if we do have an off night and we lose a game, how do you bounce back? And that's really kind of one thing that we need to grow up and mature. But I have good leadership in my seniors. We bring a lot of guys back that had that experience last year, and I think that was one thing we didn't do a good job of is, after we beat Roman in the prep and we were feeling good, and I think we were in first place at that point. We lost our next 3 games, and emotional game against Ryan, rivalry, and then we had to go to Newman and we lose to Carroll. And people started doubting us again. And we didn't play well at LaSalle, and that week off really helped us. But how do you recover, from a Friday night game that you might not play well and you lose to bounce back on Monday?
Mm.
And that's just maturity for us and I think we'll challenge ourselves in the preseason. We're playing a pretty tough schedule, so with that, I think that'll set us up for success in our PCL play.
Agreed, Coach. You have one of, if not the best point guard in Philadelphia in recent Merrimack commit, Kaveri Kennedy. How important is Kennedy for you?
He's our guy. I mean, he's our engine. I think he's just so important, and he does so many things for us. Number one, he hates to lose, and that was evident when he was a freshman. But he just does so many things for us. He gets guys open shots. He can score the ball at the rim. He rebounds. He's defending everybody's best player. He's just you call him a glue guy as who I'll say is a star coming back as a first team All Catholic, but he really is. He keeps our guys going. He gets our guys in the right position. He's ultra confident. And we know at the end of the game, if the ball's in his hands, we got the ball in the right person's hands. And, I think, last year against Wood, I think he might have made 17 free throws or something,
Yep.
down the stretch in the third or fourth quarter. And, he knows how to finish some games for us. So, he's still got some work to do, and he's not perfect all the time. But, I tell him all the time I want to ride or die with him, and that's kind of where we are from there. He's got a chance to probably cement himself as probably the best player to come out of Judge in the history of Judge with some of his stats. I think I said to somebody last week, he's probably got a chance to be 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, 500 assists, which is some pretty good
Monster
numbers
numbers.
coming out.
Monster numbers. Derek Morton Rivera, he had a huge summer AAU and playing in the high school live periods. I think it was a game he knocked down about 6 or 7 threes. I mean, do you guys expect a leap in production from him? And how about the big guy, Everett Barnes? He's just getting better and better.
Yeah, so I mean, we expect both of them to continue to take jumps. I think, I'll start with Everett. I think he's gotten his body right. He's more mobile. He's probably dropped about 30 or 40 pounds just from the season, and you can just see it on him and how his body and his confidence from there. I mean, he's got to anchor us defensively. He's got to be able to get and block shots and protect the rim. He will throw on the ball, and he's got to finish around the rim. And I think he did a good job in the summer. I think he's now going to have some confidence in guarding out on the perimeter a little bit, but that's part of reshaping his body, his athleticism and things like that. But we expect him to really anchor us down low. We're going to need him, especially, against teams like Roman, Sharif, and some of the bigs that we'll play against. But, Mir, he's taken steps every year. I think he's got to continue the progression. I think one thing, even though we're senior laden and we have experience, we're still young from an age perspective. I think Kaver and Everett are both 17 as seniors and probably graduate when they're 17 years old, which is kind of unheard of in today's now day and age.
Yes.
And Mir's just turned 16 as a junior, which again is kind of a little unheard of from there. So I think, we're a little young from that standpoint, maturity game wise, but I think Mir, he shoots the ball really well. He's probably one of, if not the top shooters in the area.
Agreed.
And he's taken the next step in mental maturity this offseason. He's really worked on his game throughout the summer. His body will look different when people see him come December. He's committed to the weight room from there. And I think, part of that will drive his confidence and allow him to show his athleticism, which he has, which he doesn't flash all the time. But being able to finish at the rim, handle the ball for us a little bit. So I think he'll really take the next jump.
Coach, before I let you go, the MOTEP Judge game is happening. I don't know when, I don't know where, but it's happening. I mean, this is a game the entire city wants to see. How big is this matchup for the city? You got Public League powerhouse versus PCL, one of the PCL favorites to win it all. How big is this matchup for the city?
It's Andre called me and said, "Hey, I want to play the best in the local teams," and it's a compliment coming from him. To say that, it's big. I mean, but I know that they play a national schedule all the time, and they've played the Romans of the world, and they're playing prep this year, I think.
Yep.
So they're playing them. So it's going to be a big game, but for everybody, I think everybody will say it's a normal game. Hopefully we'll see them multiple times this year.
Yep.
If everything goes well. between the PCL and them. Now that they're in 6A, there's a chance for some pretty special matchups.
Yes.
Hopefully, maybe more than once. But it's a game we're looking forward to. It's a game I'm sure they're looking forward to. And we're excited to be a part of it and play it and kind of see where we're at. Is they're the top dog in the city. They've been kind of the top dog in the city over the past couple of years and more than a couple of years. But I think it's always fun to have that pub and PCL matchup, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's not the only one this year. Hopefully, things work out, and hopefully there's a true city championship this year.
Yes.
From that, which would be great for the city.
Agreed, Coach. Well, Coach, I'm not going to keep you too long, man. Thanks for taking time out your busy day and being on air with Rare.
I appreciate it, Rare. Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you, Coach.